Boom, 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 boom. Hello, everybody. I apologise for that rather loud intro there. Check see if there's actually music. Yes, there is. I don't know how loud that's coming. What am I getting? Fair enough. Okay. Sorry. Just chilling, really. Morning, mate. How you doing? All good? Ah, nice one. Jolly good. I'm doing Photoshop / Daz at the moment. In fact, yeah, we can't go to Daz. Can't load up Daz at the moment because there's nipples on the screen. Yay. Actually, to be fair, it's only cyber nipples and I can just go rip. Right, gone. Dealt with. Now I can apply some clothes to said character. And then everybody will be happy. For goodness sake. Okay, wait. For some reason it decided to reload itself. What outfit does Laura wear? She wears whatever she wants, really. She doesn't have a set outfit like the other characters do, so let's just give her something fun. Oh, do you know what? That'll do. That one will do. Really need the spectacles though. Alright, now I can bring that back across. There we go, everyone's a winner. Happy days. Just move this out of the way so I can see you chatting. So I'm doing some promo images of, well, promo images basically. Right, she needs to go approximately 8 centimeters off the floor, maybe a bit more by the looks of it. She's wearing high heels, maybe. Let's try 10. Okay, 12 maybe? That is a little better. Okay, let's give her a pose. Stand in. Yeah, it's the weight mapping is also, I don't know if it's intentional or not. They've obviously added this weight map to the underbust area, but the problem is, as you say, it always rocks up and looks really weird. Better if they just left the whole thing unweight mapped, apart from maybe the collar, just so that the collar stays where it's meant to be, but the rest of the shirt kind of slips down to where it's meant to go. Right, Laura, she's a bit of a free spirit, so we'll give her a pose like, yeah. No, it is. I don't know why I complain about these things, because realistically, if I had a problem with it, I should just create my own outfits. It's not like I'm useless. That is somewhat pointy. Let's try. I'll go flat foot then. Dems is not looking good. Oh, that's even worse. Something halfway between. Well, that's true. It is very time consuming, and my dance card is already quite full. Does that look alright? I mean, the heel is on the floor. The toes, don't know what's going on, but what the goddamn. Goodness me. That's really sloppy. Sloppy as, look at that. Ooh. Mind you, I suppose these shoes aren't really meant to be bent at the toe like that. So maybe it's not the pose's designer's fault, maybe it's the person who designed the shoes, or maybe even my fault. Could be, could go either way. Okay. That looks better. Let's just bring her back down to about 8 centimeters. Nope, that's too much. Let's try 10. 10. Hello. There we go. Right, let's go out to our camera and have a look. She needs an expression. She needs a better expression because she looks like she's about to murder someone. Like a scene from Kill Bill happening here. Let's go to expressions. So, one, two, not have any expression. What's that all about? Oh god. That'll do. It'll do. Nope, it's the wrong kind of expression. Goodness me. Ah, right, I think I might know what's wrong. I think this might be... I made 2 copies of this character. One of them worked, one of them didn't. I believe I may be trying to use the one that doesn't work. Okay, let's go to Smooth Shaded. Try loading in this version and see if this one works. Failing that, I've got like so many different versions of these characters where I've tweaked them, and I'm a nightmare because I'll tweak them and then I won't delete the one that I don't want to use anymore. I'll keep it, and I'm so clever, I even keep it in the same folder as the original, as the new one, so I end up getting confused as to which one I'm supposed to be using. So I probably need to sort that out, to be honest. But this is what I'm creating, and this looks, it doesn't look that great, but you know, obviously it's just something that's going to go on the website and maybe even my DeviantArt page, because if I zoom in you can get in pretty close and you can see that it's actually quite a high-res image. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Oh, fish hooks, there we go. As you can see, it's quite high-res image. Skin texture is okay. If I could be bothered, I would spend a bit more time tweaking it, but this is not the worst skin texture I've ever used. It's actually alright. It's got some detail in it. When I did that video couple of, what am I thinking, probably 2 weeks ago, about adding skin detail in ZBrush, and a load of people were like, oh no, you just add Gaussian noise to it. God no. Look at your own skin. Does it look like Gaussian noise? No! Your skin's got a very specific texture. This is not really, this is a texture from maybe a part of a human body that has been uniformly applied to the entirety of the figure. So it looks passable, but nowhere near like realistic. And this one, you know, the skin face texture is better, but still nowhere near realistic. Right, what's going on with Daz? Ah, there we go. Right. Go to my smart content and see if she has expressions available, or if I've loaded the wrong model again. Right, let's have a look. Edit. Object, scene ID, Genesis 8 female, node Laura. See, that is wrong. That is all kinds of wrong. Preferred base. It's meant to be Genesis 8 female. Content type, it is an actor and a character. Right, that should change my options on the smart content now. Yes, does it give me expressions? No. Right, apparently that is also the wrong character. Going well so far. Going really well. Let's try this one. Load a new figure into the scene. We'll get the right one eventually. Hello Joe, how you doing, man? Yeah, it's a pain, but it's one of those things. Like I always get like, you know, those comments you get on the videos from people who. You know, oh, bear with me one sec. Alrighty, apologies about that. Had an Amazon driver who's too fucking lazy to walk up the stairs or even get in the elevator. I haven't used the hot sauce yet. I was thinking about having some breakfast, but I changed my mind. I'll have it for tea. Something. What was I saying about? Lost the plot. About going back to fix the hair size, etc. Nope, completely lost the plot. Talking about someone leaving stupid comments on the videos. But, yeah, anyway, irrelevant. Right, let's see if this character will let me apply expressions and stuff to it. Should bloody do. Alright, what's going on there? Interesting. It's very interesting. Alright, let's just hide you and you. Seem to be having some difficulty. Expressions. Getting expressions as products, but not as files. That is weird. Like the metadata for expressions has suddenly disappeared from my... Very peculiar. Gonna have to investigate that one, because there's some weird stuff happening at the moment with my database. Like, very weird. We go to products, the expressions are there. I wonder if I select her. It is. I'm just doing promo images like this one here for the website. I'm going to put some like introductions to the characters, little bios and that sort of thing on the website. To be honest, I'm doing a bit of housekeeping as well. Without wanting to be overly expressive, I'm getting kind of fed up with seeing on various different websites people saying that my games are abandoned when they're clearly not. I'm working on them. And the problem is people listen to these idiots, so I'm sort of putting I've already added to the website a game status page where you can see what's happening, which game I'm currently working on. And I'm also going to put little ditties about each game on there with introductions to the characters and stuff, so that you just get a bit more of a feel for what's going on. Because I'm going to have to make some changes to some of the games, not the obvious one, but yeah, bits and pieces. I'm just going to have to do some clearing up and so on. And I've got so many different things. I've got like a DeviantArt page that I haven't uploaded to for probably about 4 years. So, you know, I'm going to put some of these pictures on there as well, just to sort of show off the characters and all that sort of thing. So yeah. That's very peculiar that I can see expressions in products but not in files. That's super strange. Right, now which one? All right, this is the one with the clothes on. Try giving her a expression, something simple like a warm smile or whatever. Did it actually work? It worked. So what is the problem? Why is Das Studio being a bellend? Yeah, it's in the question. Right, do I need to do... Yeah, I better do this from zero pose, otherwise that's just going to look really odd. I'm not overly sold on that shirt either, if I'm being honest. I like the deforciness, but I don't think it's something that you're going to see Laura wearing very often. No. Wardrobe, let's have a look. In spite of what she does for a living, she does dress smart, but I don't imagine I'm going to see her wearing a blouse and plaid skirt very often. You know, a little bit more cash, but how is everybody doing today? You know, there's people lurking in the background there. Is that gonna be a bit more suited to a law? Skirt will. To get rid of all of that nonsense. Ponytail, eyelashes. Why is she wearing 2 sets of hair? How peculiar. I must have accidentally double added. Right, I'm going to get rid of these 2 because they're just in the way. No, they're not actually in the way, but you get it. You get it. Right, let's find a nice top for her to wear. Suffice to say, you can tell without too much difficulty that most D-Force clothing, or most Dad Studio clothing, is made by dudes. It's not a surprise. God damn it! I want some shoes. That's all I want. Just some bloody shoes. Unless I do her barefoot as well. I do Laura barefoot. Lucy does barefoot for a reason. I think there are some pumps. Oh my god. That's some tiptoeing action going on there. Alright. Well, it's going to look a little bit more natural than the previous version. Strip it down. This bloody fine tuning, it's what takes the time. Okay. And that one needs to go that way a little bit more. Bring it down. Probably got about one more episode in there, I reckon. We've pretty much covered all of the important stuff. The looks better. Does it look better? Look like her feet are sinking into the floor now. I might have gone a bit too mad there. That one looks okay. There's a little bit of sinking in the floor to be expected, but not that much. Okay, let's go there. Right, now we need to sort out this skirt so that it actually fits around the t-shirt. Just waist, just hips. Is that going to do it? Nope. Just waist. Come out a bit more. Or we can go in. No, out. In, out. Shake it all about. Still waiting for you to critique. Have you not seen the... I did your image yesterday. In render review. I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah, I uploaded a render review episode yesterday. Right, cool. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the top. Don't think there is a... There is a simulation element to it. Interesting. Let's make it shrink down. I want it to shrink down by about 85. That's going to shrink by 15%. And now if I simulate, realistically, don't need it to render to simulate from a pose anymore. So do that. Hit simulate now. It should shrink around her breasticles, so that it looks a little bit less weird. She'll do. Right, so now all I need to do is take the space, change the top surface to asphalt, because she ain't standing on a beach. And I've got a feeling I'm going to need to add a bump map. It's got a bump map on it, has it? There's our texture. Yeah, that's clearly not going to work. Let's add a different shader because that looks all kinds of wrong. Gonna have to have a bit of. There we go. God damn. So what we can do is change our base color. Make that something around there, perhaps. Then we can add a displacement map. I have already downloaded. Right, asphalt doesn't have a huge amount of displacement in it, so I think giving it 4 centimeters is probably a bit generous. But let's see how this looks. Okay, the road's a bit shiny. Oh, right, I used the wrong kind of sand shader. Let's just do it the easy way. Right, let's go to base, change the base color back down to something like that. Displacement map, go back to point again. With -2, go with 2. And tiling, going to need to be, that's a 4 meter by 4 meters, so we'll set that to 0.3, so we're giving ourselves a little bit of wiggle room, and 0.3 there. To be honest, I'm not seeing any texture on that at all now. Nope, does not look like there's much going on. Let's go back. Let's try times that by 2. Does that give us any texture? There is a bit. Maybe it is a smaller texture then, because that tiling doesn't work. Let's go back to 1 and 1. Well, I didn't want to, I don't like to take gambles on these things. Why does that look so crap? It looks awful. Let's see if I've actually got a concrete or an alcohol. I know I've got concrete shaders, but let's see if I've got like a. See if I've got a road shader or a tarmac shader or something. I've got a feeling by searching for a road, I'm not going to get the result I want. Fine. Tarmac on the off chance, no. Why is the only asphalt shader I've got utter crap? Right, let's try going even more then. Let's try tiling that to like 2. And 2. It's getting there. Let's try 3 and 3 then. How does that look from the distant camera? It's kind of hard to tell, isn't it? Kind of hard to tell. So I'll just give it a little bit more glossy. Glossy colour. Come back up here maybe. It's not got to be like, this is a really weird thing to be fixating on, I know, but it hasn't got to be spectacular, but it has to at least look like it has a texture. That's kind of the point of these things. Let's try just going back to the displacement and change that back to 1. And change the minimum displacement. No, let's change the maximum displacement to like 5 and see what happens there. Does look a bit better now. Maybe the glossy layered weight is a bit too. Right. Didn't mean to click on that. That's the problem with having that friggin' thing right next to the parameters tab. Right, let's just bring our head up a little bit. That look better? Yep. Last but not least, let's take its top and see if we can give it something else. The new materials are available to us. Just a bit dull with plain white. Do that, and I might give it baby blue. Might even work. No, that looks kind of gap. Red, perhaps. No. Right, let's see if I've actually got the. Oh, it is literally just a color selection. So let's go with maybe a bit of lilac. Oh no, got to change it on all of them. Right, let's just 2.5. Oh, I'm never going to remember that. Actually, looks like she's wearing a friggin' baseball uniform. Undo that. Select them all. There we go. I knew what I was doing. I know you didn't lose faith in me. That looks a little bit better. Cool. That looks better. Happy with that. Just bang that render out, and then let's just switch over to Photoshop. Is anyone doing anything other than rendering this Sunday? Anyone doing anything crazy, busy, interesting, exciting, etc.? Always interested to know what people are doing. So I've added a couple of new blog posts today. One of them is about a website called IntelliFluence, which I got an email from them like, builders doing your patio. Well, fair play. Patios are a pain in the bum. I used to help a friend of mine out, doing like landscape gardening and stuff, and we laid patios all the time, and they're such a pain in the ass. Because people never do it properly. They always do it on the cheap as well. You know, you're supposed to like dig down about probably, you know, like 150 mil kind of thing. Put hardcore down. In fact, no, yeah, 6 inches. I remember now. You've got to put your hardcore down, then you've got to cover that with sand, and then you've got to put a layer of sort of cement powder down, and then, you know, put the patio on top of that, and not forgetting to put your weed membrane underneath your hardcore. Things like that. But people always just put sand down and then wonder why their patio falls apart. Organising organising, especially in Dad's studio, because there's no easy way to do it. Like, if they wanted to massively improve the customer user experience, they would make it so that organising your content is shed load. Yeah, you don't want to half-arse it. Yeah, so I got an email about 3 months ago from a company called IntelliFluence. I've made a blog post about this, so if you don't want to hear me ramble about it, just go and read the blog post. But essentially what happened was, they're a company that claim to be, they claim to allow YouTubers and other influencers to connect with brands. Because getting sponsored is like the holy grail for a YouTuber. It allows you to create your content without relying on ad revenue to earn a living. Now, I don't do this for the money, but if someone's offering me money to do it, then obviously I'm going to say yes, within reason, because I'm not going to compromise my principles. So, anyway, so I registered on this website, and it's getting a bit of a red flag situation going on when they started asking for like date of birth and all this like really weirdly personal information that you shouldn't really need to be relevant anyway. But I'd been doing Googling and couldn't find any websites that said that this was a scam or anything like that, so I went on there. And yeah, having been on there and seen what sponsorship deals are supposedly available, and the terms and conditions are horrendous. Like, so rather than you being approached by a brand and them saying, I will pay you $1,000 to advertise my product on your video, the way that IntelliFluence supposedly do it is that you have to do the promotion first. You have to do it within a set period of time as well. So basically, like, you would have to buy a product, and then within a set amount of time, you have to upload a photograph of you using the product, and then you have to actually fulfill the terms of the sponsorship. So you'd have to actually upload a video of you promoting the product. And this is within like a time frame of about sort of 3 or 4 days. And if you don't achieve that, then you end up in, well, well, welcome, Emmanuel. Is that? I'm really sorry. I don't want to mispronounce that name because that's Huao. Is that Huao? So yeah, I went onto this. So yeah, there's a lot of sketchy. So I ended up I was registered for about 10 minutes, and then I immediately sent them a message saying, yeah, delete my profile. I'm not doing this. And I removed the permission for them to view my YouTube channel and stuff like that, just because it's seemed like super sketchy, basically. Thanks ever so much for joining. Much appreciated, my friend. I always sound like really sarcastic or really disingenuous when I say that. I truly do mean it. It's just I'm not used to people being kind. Although you guys, like you guys, my supporters, have been absolutely amazing for the last few years. It still just doesn't come naturally to me. Right, what am I doing? Oh yeah, so yeah, got like loads of detail in this. So we come zoom right in. I've already shown a couple of people this, but you can see now, like, we're talking crazy detail. This is a really high resolution image. I think it's like 10,000 pixels. You can see the texture in there, and then you can see the skin texture mostly. It's obviously not going to be this big when I put it on the website, but I just figure it's better to have it as high res as possible, so that when I do crop it down, all the details there. The lesson in manual over some. Let's now see how Laura's getting on. Well, that's the top of red. Looking good. Bit of a poke through there. We'll have to deal with that. Top looks good. Bit of space around there. There's not much I can do about that, unfortunately, because if you shrink it, the top. I suppose I could just use a deformer, to be fair. There's nothing stopping me from doing that. Wow, that skin texture is rough. Jeebus. I might need to turn down the bump map on her a little bit, because that just looks... Funnily enough, though, it does look more realistic around the ankle and places like that than Lucy character. But yeah, the bump map's just way too high there. Right, let's just cancel this, because that's just going to look awful. Close. Right, come back to Daz. Right, now we need to go to Laura. And we're going to... John. Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. You know, getting on. Just had a Amazon delivery that's... Meh. It is what it is. Right, base bump. Normal map. It's set to 1 at the moment. Let's try dropping that down to 0.6. Hello, the other John. John and John. I've got wow. Again, correct me if I'm mispronouncing that name, because I'm not very good with pronunciations of people. So if I say it wrong, just shout at me and I'll say it right. Yeah. Right, let's have a quick close-up on her face now. Or her neck, because the neck was a bit that looked really rough. See if that looks a little better now that I've turned down the normal map to like 0.6. No, I log in every now and again, just because some people do still message me on there, but generally speaking, no, I don't really go on there anymore. It's just one of those things. As a piracy site as well, which obviously we don't promote on this channel, but it's just you probably could if you wanted to, Coca. You have to. The problem's going to arise when you turn this into an OBJ. You have to weld all the meshes together because the hair is. So the hair looks like it's hair in the image when you render it, but it's not. It's actually, as you can see, strips with opacity masks on them. So you would have to find a way of converting that opacity mask into actual true geometry, because a 3D printer doesn't see the textures, it just sees the vertices of the 3D points. So hair is where the problem really crops up there. Everything else you can get away with because the geometry's there, but yeah, the hair is the problem. Yeah, no, I just don't go on there anymore, really. You can still reach me through the website, my website, and on Patreon, or in the comments to a video, but obviously if it's relevant to the video. But yeah, the thing is that websites like that, they keep saying I've abandoned my games and all this sort of thing, and it's just not true. I'm just because I'm not posting on there anymore doesn't mean I'm not doing my thing anymore. So yeah, so it's not worth the aggravation, to be honest. Yeah, so if you can find some like 3D hair, Coco, about that actually has the geometry of the hairstyle, and you could some way paste that onto your exported OBJ of your character, then yeah, you could 3D print this quite nicely. But hair is always a sticking point. And you'd have to print it quite big anyway, because fiber, like my printer is can't remember how small my nozzle is. My nozzle is pretty small. But printing hair in 3D is a challenge, even when it's normal size strand of hair. So you can imagine printing miniature hair. You'd have to get a solid shape. Right, I'm happy with that. Probably going to be what I'm after. Yeah. Yeah, the problem with non-DAS products, sorry, going back to what you were saying, Oblique Ninja, is the metadata isn't always that good. So, yeah, you can add your own, which takes time. It's okay if you're buying one product every now and again. It's not a problem because you can afford to spend the time. But if you're buying like a shed load of stuff, if you're trying to put together like a huge scene in one hit, you've bought like 20 products. Going through all of those and adding metadata for all of those is just a huge pain in the bum. Huge. Yeah, you could do. You could print them both and add a wig afterwards if you wanted to. You could glue some little hair, a little bit of fur to it and kind of style it how you wanted to. There's no reason why you couldn't do it that way. That's how they do it with Barbie dolls and things like that. They make the plastic and then they stick the hair on afterwards. So, you could do it that way. Maybe even rob the hair off a Barbie doll and just glue it to the top of the head of your character. Yeah. Yeah, you won't hear me arguing with you on that one. That's always been one of my pet peeves. Bum, 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 bum. Oh. Yeah. I mean, the notion of the smart content system is good. It's a bit like using Adobe Bridge or even Lightroom. As long as you get the metadata right, it can be really useful. And all the products you buy, or most of the products you'll buy on the DAS store, have the metadata, so that's really useful. But if you're buying them or downloading them from third-party sites, you may not always be getting exactly what you need. So yeah, it's a pain in the bum to just go through and sort. Let's see how this render's doing now. Should look a little bit less rough now that we've dropped the depth of the normal map down. The neck still looks a bit meh. Skin on the arms looks better. Skin on the legs. She's obviously had a bit of a rough life, which is not actually that inaccurate for this character. Don't forget, guys, there are downloads on my website for a few products that I'm creating. I don't do messing around with the Dash Studio Marketplace at the moment. To be honest, most of the products that I create wouldn't be suitable for the marketplace anyway, because they're like our box or our light or something like that. But yeah, there's downloads on the website available for free. Little things that might be useful. Yeah. The worst thing I would say about using non-Dash Studio Marketplace products is when you download a product you've bought and they've named a folder incorrectly, or they've put too many spaces in or something. The amount of times I've gone into my product folders and found that there's 2 spaces between Genesis 8 is so annoying, because it just doesn't again, it sets my OCD off. And it's the same with other things as well. People who create an unnecessary in the documentation folder of your products. Most of the time, that's just a text file with the name of the person who made the character in it, which is entirely unnecessary. It's just files for the sake of files. Because if you go into your metadata for every product, it tells you who the product author is anyway. So these pointless text files got so many bloody useless documentation files, like. Yeah, exactly. It's crafty because you understand why they're doing it. If you download the texture and you think, oh crap, I haven't got the prop, I might as well buy the prop. But yeah, it's, what can you do? We were all there. I've never once bothered to subscribe to the Daz Platinum Club because it just feels like money going out of my bank account for no good reason because the content isn't that great. You're better off just buying the props and the things that you need, even if they are overpriced. I literally, people have asked me in the past what my criteria for a good or a bad product is. Depends on the product. If it's a character, then I want to see good promo images that haven't been tampered with too much, so that I know that I'm not going to have to do too much work in post above what I usually have to do anyway. But if it's furniture or an environment or a prop, it is literally down to how long it would take me to make that myself and the cost. Because quite often you'll find you're paying $50 for an environment that is just walls. That probably took the person about 20 minutes to put together. So, that's how I decide whether or not a product's worth the money or not, is how much I value my own time. That's how I feel about it anyway. I've got no idea if there's music on or not at the moment, by the way. I don't think there is at the moment. I think it has stopped. So, let's find out what's going on. Oh, it's paused itself? Oh, right, it's gone through that with a bloody short playlist. Let's find something else. Let's find something else. How long's this album? Equally small, but it's an album. If the music gets too loud, just let me know. It depends on what kind of clothing you're talking about, because sometimes they will be geo shells, which you can't select in the viewport. You have to select it in the scene browser. At least Daz Studio Store has a returns policy, so like I bought a bunch of supposedly idle Annie blocks, which you would think would be a person. Well, for a start, you'd expect them to be Annie blocks, which they friggin' well weren't. They were keyframed animations, so which is a pain in the ass. But I bought them thinking that they were going to be kind of 2-second loops of a person just standing still, so they were breathing and there was a little bit of movement, but they weren't doing ridiculous amounts of gesticulation. And they were keyframe animations of someone that they might as well have been doing a friggin' Michael Jackson dance. It's like they're supposed to be idle animations. Idle animations don't mean and all that crap. It's like, no, they're standing still. If they're doing all that, they're not idling. And the most important thing is they have to be loopable, otherwise, again, they're not idling. You can't do... I don't want to rant about it. It's a pretty stupid thing to rant about, but it's frustrating. It's like entirely mislabeled. Anyway, point is, I got my money back because it was definitely not as advertised. Right, is she ready to go? The pro to using Annie blocks is mainly that they slot together in blocks. And presuming that they're proper Annie blocks, you can put them together to build a longer animation, as opposed to keyframe animations, which don't have as well. For a start, they take a lot longer to load. An Annie block, you can delete it as well. You put it on your character in the timeline, you don't like how it looks, you delete it and it's gone. With keyframes, it's again a massive pain in the ass to do anything in it. Daz Studio is not animation software, I've said it a million times. it's rendering software. It's a rendering engine that's had animation functionality shoehorned into it, but now that the DAZ Blender Bridge is better, it's probably better off to use mocap files in Blender rather than in DAZ Studio, just because it's it's more intuitive and it's just easier. Yeah, exactly. It's just such a poorly optimized, poorly written piece of software. At least Aniblocks is simple. You know, you delete the Aniblock and the character just reverts back to its T-pose or whatever pose it was in. But again, I always advise people, if you can avoid doing animation in DAZ Studio, then avoid it. A tutorial on I've touched on Aniblocks, I think. I can't remember. It's been done so many bloody videos at this point. Someone left a comment the other day on one of my very first ever. Yeah. Animating in Blender. No, I haven't done animating in Blender yet. I'm not very experienced with it, so I would have to have a proper practice before I did a video on it. Yeah, someone left a comment on one of my videos a couple of days ago, one of my first Ren'Py videos, questioning whether I needed to correct the code or something. And my initial reaction was, I honestly can't remember. I made this video 3 years ago. But I did go through and double check and know the code I did in the video was correct. I think this is probably good to go. Just double check the feet. It's not the best asphalt texture in the world, but it'll do. Would you like to cancel this render? Yeah. These are, yeah, well, these are like promo. I'm just going to put them on the website. I was saying to people before, I'm getting kind of fed up with, because my games aren't represented anywhere. I've got a RTX 3080, mate. Because I'm not representing my games or brand anywhere other than on YouTube anymore, then constructive criticism is a tricky one. I mean, you can submit them to me for render review if you want. Just send them to realthundawn@gmail.com. But yeah, there's not many like forums properly. Best place to do it is on the DAZ Studio website, to be honest, because they do like, you know, user video. They do user critique and stuff on there. Yeah, so because my games aren't represented online anymore, because I've taken them down from websites and Patreon, because Patreon won't allow the kind of content that I create. So now I'm putting up these images on the website with a proper game status, like development status is already on the website on Thundawn.com, so you can check it out. And it just tells you the status of the games that I'm working on, whether they're on hold or anything like that. None of my games are abandoned. I will complete every single game I've started. I'm going to do a duplicate. That duplicate node. And then I can hide that one, change this one. I'm going to see if I've got any carpet. There I have. I'm going to go with a burgundy carpet. That's actually got its own bump map on it as well. Sweet! Yeah. Dude. I know it's really pathetic, but if people keep talking about piracy sites and stuff in the chat, I won't be able to put the chat log on the video when I upload it, so please don't. Okay. Yeah, I would. My plan is to use Steam in future. I'm not going to use the Patreon business model anymore. I have considered using something like OnlyFans or something, but again, I'm probably not going to do that. I'll probably just use Steam because it's easier. Yeah, you do have to stump up. You do have to pay up front, like $100 to get your game published on Steam, but the potential audience is huge. I can't remember. It might be 500. It's an amount you have to pay up front. These are all, I don't want to say custom characters because I didn't go like mad. They've all been through the ringer. They all consist of a number of poses, and then they've all been put into ZBrush and had tweaks and stuff done to them. But they're my own characters. I made a point of making them so that they were unique. I think yeah, joining those competitions on like the Daz Studios website and stuff has its place. There are certain benefits to it. You'll definitely get feedback, but as John Can't Games pointed out, because of the standard of, bear in mind that you're dealing with people who've used Daz Studio for a very long time. They're like, you're up against some of the best people, the best renderers. So yeah, there's always going to be a little bit of a feeling of insecurity or something like that because you are dealing with people who are very good at it. So as long as you remember not to compare yourself to those people. Well, yeah, that's one of the issues that you're going to run into, John. Michael, I do my own morphs and stuff. I don't generally do it a lot. I mean, most of the characters I'm using I designed 2 or 3 years ago, so I don't really need to now. But yeah, I still make my own morphs in ZBrush or Blender, depending on which of the two is more useful to me at the time. The thing is, people tend to forget the law around intellectual property is really strict, and if you were to upload a game to Steam that contained someone else's copyrighted music, someone's copyrighted sound effects, you can potentially get sued for a hell of a lot more money than your game is ever likely to make, shall we put it that way. I think the going rate, it might not be the going rate, but I've heard of IP court cases going up as far as 100k. So in the short way as possible, if you're going to create your own game, you need to create your own music, you need to create your own artwork. You can't use anyone else's photographs, sound effects, music, anything like that in your own game. Everything has to be original. Yeah, I mean, like, literally, if you have someone else's piece of copyrighted artwork in there, even like from the Daz Studio store, some of those environments and props use copyright photographs and stuff. It depends on how seriously you take it. Like, one of my biggest complaints about the whole Patreon business model is that there's pressure on you to push out an update every 30 days or every 2 months or however long it is, so image quality is compromised. But if I've always been fairly open and honest with anybody, like when I was on Patreon and Subscribestar, that I was concentrating on image quality, but back then I didn't know as much, so my image quality was still crap. See, the difference between like the music that I use in my YouTube videos, I pay £10 a month for the license to use that music. But if I was to put that music in a game, you're talking 10 to 100 times the cost of the license for one piece of music. So you're better off finding a friend who's got Fruity Loop Studio or a keyboard or something like that, who can just put together some basic music for you, and then just pay them outright. You know, say, write me some music, job done. Using pre-written music and all that sort of thing from commercial websites is going to cost you an arm and a leg. Right, it's time to change caricatures. Smooth shaded, please. Hide Laura. Let's put her in group with Lucy. And tuck that away. Out. Balls. Move that base out. Lou. No, don't move Laura. For feck's sake. Select. Drag out of the group. There we go. That's all I ought to do. It's not complicated, is it? Oh, right. Character. YouTube. Yeah, if you go on Fiverr, go on Fiverr.com. Say to someone, I want a loopable piece of music to go in the background, and they'll charge you. They'll tell you how much it's going to cost. Much easier than messing around. So there's a lot of bad faith people on YouTube. There's a lot of people who don't actually own the music and will send you copy strikes and claims. They have no legal right to do it, but the YouTube system is deeply flawed, let's put it that way. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done to improve upon that, because it is really sketchy at the moment. And the problem is, on YouTube, if you file an copyright claim against a video and it turns out that you're lying or that the claim is not valid, you don't get penalised. If, however, someone puts in a copyright claim against one of your videos and you appeal it, and your appeal gets overturned, you get you can potentially be banned. You'll get a strike on your account for sure, and you only get 3 strikes and then you're out. So yeah, the copyright rules for YouTube are really sketchy. Definitely it's definitely heavily biased in favour of the claimants, shall we say. improve that a little bit. Come on, freaking hell. Oh, goodness. So bear in mind that there isn't some gremlin sitting there playing everybody's RenPie games or looking at the CG rips to find out if there's some copyrighted work on there. That's not me condoning using someone else's copyright material in your images, but I need to point out contextually that the odds of you getting caught if you're just doing RenPie games on Patreon is quite slim. However, still wouldn't risk it. But if you were to be uploading content on Patreon, and this is interesting because I've actually been through this from the person claiming it, because there was somebody who I'm not going to mention who was uploading all of my games that they'd downloaded themselves from piracy sites. Bearing in mind that my games were always free. There was a patrons only version, but the actual content mostly was the same. But this person was offering basically free downloads of my game, and was hiding the patrons only version behind his own Patreon paywall. As in, become a patron and you get faster downloads and you can download the special edition of this game. I attempted to contact Patreon because I was like, well, if I'm not getting paid for this, then why the hell should this dickhead who's done absolutely nothing to deserve this money be earning it? And the amount of hoops that you have to jump through, to get something taken down from Patreon is actually quite alarming, considering people such as myself got banned for merely suggesting that there was an Oedipus complex element to my game. Like, insane. So, yeah, it always seems to be, you know, in life it always seems to be the a-holes who get away with it and the people who are mostly law-abiding citizens who get penalised for breaking the rules. It's very much a situation with that. Yeah, there's no incentive for YouTube to fix their copyright system because for the most part it does what it's meant to do. It's just that unfortunately, I mean, you look at what it happens. It's one of those things, man. It's just a pain in the ass, you know. That's what you'll never hear me recommending Patreon as a good business model for a game development company because it just isn't. I have a Patreon account for this channel, but it's purely for the educational stuff on the channel. It's got nothing to do with any games that I may or may not create elsewhere. But yeah, so it's more of a word of warning to people who are thinking about using Patreon as a way of funding their game development. Just don't. There are too many cases of people who've been massively penalised for something really minor, or because they dared to have something vaguely taboo in the content of their game. It's just not worth it. Think of a better business model. Don't use PayPal at all for that kind of thing. Use PayPal in day-to-day life, but again, PayPal have the same rules about adult content as Patreon do. If you get caught, you will get boned. I mean, to be honest, and this is not meant as a comment about you, Joe, or anybody else. It just goes to, oh my god, what the hell's happened there? It just goes to show that people are optimistic because we're still having the conversations. I mean, it's been 4 years since I had my problems. 4 years since some of the other content creators on, you know, some of the major players in the Adult VN game. What's going on there? Oh, that's because that's still on there. Some of the major players in the Adult VN game got massively penalised. It's been 4 years ago, and we're still having the conversations about whether or not it's safe to post such and such. And it's So Patreon have managed to limp on, shall we say, but I would never recommend using them for any kind of adult content now. It's just not worth it. And you still hear stories of adult creators getting, you know, whether they're the girls who do the webcamming and things like that, they are always getting shafted and sent off. Just too risky. Way too risky. Sorry, I feel like I've been talking about this for far too long. Right, she's going to have that t-shirt on. Who wears short shorts? Using some CC stuff on particular websites and just wanted to know if I could trust it. I see. Cardboard box. Again, I wouldn't. Let me put it this way: I don't have an opinion on that kind of thing, or rather, I do, but I'm not willing to discuss it purely because I certainly don't want to be accused of giving someone permission. It's not my place to do so. All I can say is, if it's an image that's been created by somebody else, ask for permission. At the very least, get written permission. Right, now then, so she's still wearing her glasses in this one. She hasn't quite had a medical problem resolved yet. Poses by function, standing. Right, she's not very well, so she's certainly not going to be standing in a stripper pose. Which is mostly what you get from that one will do. That's a good standing pose. I think the fact that one of the reasons why I like sickle yield stuff so much is because, well, for a start, she's a female creator. She's not creating stripper clothes and stripper poses and all that sort of thing. Right, let's see what happens when we put her at 8 centimeters off the ground. Look at that. Right, let's do this in IRA and see what happens. I don't even earn enough money to do to you know. I'm very aware that the size of my audience is significantly limited by the shit, just the number of people who the Dash Studio channel itself has only got 56,000 subs on it. I'm at nearly 10, which means I'm at 20% of probably the biggest my audience will ever be based on Dash Studio content alone. I'm not sure that me paying somebody else to review my videos is going to benefit me in any way. And to be honest, I would just be going down the same route as that IntelliFluencer website that I'm not such a big fan of. Let's change our top to a different colour. Don't understand why that supposedly white top is. There's something seriously wrong with the materials for this t-shirt. I'm going to look into it. Let's have a look and see what the base colour is. Base colour is, see, that is not yellow. That is not goddamn yellow. We need to make that much brighter. Can I make that the right colour? No. Nope, nope, nope. This is very much one of those. That is not mustard, that is brown. Let's see what blue looks like. Yeah, that's pretty dark. Ah, well, it's fine. It's fine. Right, let's go back into smooth shaded. Well, it's the whole top because they've got the colour on there, and then they've applied a weird base colour. They're dicking around basically. If I was to make this entirely white base colour, that's the colour I'd get. I'd have to just go in and change that and make it white, to be honest. That would probably be a damn sight easier. In fact, I could do that if I were to go to that. And now I can wait for that to load. When it loads the white one. Right, so that's the one I'm after. So if I come into there, drag that in. As we can see, that is definitely not white. So what we can do is we'll add a brightness and contrast. Yank up the contrast and then bring up the brightness so it's actually white. That image file. Save. Oops. Oh no, I've ruined the texture by saving over it. Double click on that one. May have to do a reload textures because I feel like it might still come out grey. And I also need to jank that all the way to the top. But now it's white. Now it's the colour it's meant to be. It's white as advertised as opposed to dark grey. Looks alright. Let's go to perspective view and we'll go into smooth shaded mode one last time. Reset the camera. We want to move her so that she's actually in the middle of that. And let's render it out and see what happens. Oh dear. Yeah, I tweak. I tinker and tweak. Normally I don't save over a texture, I would normally save a version B that I've tweaked, but yeah, I do that all the time. Tweak and tinker with things to make them actually work like they're supposed to. I very rarely use whole outfits. I generally will use a part of an outfit. So I've used this t-shirt and then a different set of jeans. So, you know, they're not part of the same thing, and then she's sort of standing, taking a step. Got a nice carpet texture there. We'll have music playing. We're almost at the end of that playlist. Time to find another one.
Smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go. See the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Okay,
I have no idea if the music I'm playing is any good or not because I'm not listening to it. It's purely in the background of the video. I've got my speakers turned off so that I can't hear it. Yeah, I made the mistake of going and using some of these no copyright channels only to get immediately copy struck. So you won't be making that mistake again. Barely audible. There you go. Someone's told me something I can use. There we go. Let's just crank up that volume a smidge. If I were wearing my headphones, it wouldn't be a problem because then I'd be able to hear it. But I'm too hot to wear headphones. Too goddamn hot. Is this render progressing? Oh, it's flying through it. Yeah, so anyway, going back to business models of people do seem to ask a lot. I get a lot of questions about it. So, yeah, I think Steam's really the way ahead, and they do allow adult content on Steam, so you might as well take advantage. To be honest, the healthier, the more people upload decent content on there, the healthier the community will be. The obvious drawback is that you can't do, well, you can do early access, but I don't know what the rules around that are because I think you have to sign up to some kind of agreement. You pin yourself down to a deadline or something, but having money drip fed to you for content is asking for a lot of pain and heartache. I speak from experience. Well, precisely. And if you're selling it for $10 a pop, that's 40 grand. You know, that's not to be sniffed at. All right, so the likes, you know, the likes of some of the developers who somehow managed to survive the Patreon apocalypse earn more than that in 1 month. But realistically, the 99.99% of the rest of us will never earn that kind of money. You know, they were just in the right place. Yeah, 3,000. You know, I mean, exactly. You know, if I was to make 10 grand from selling a game, I could finally put a deposit down on a house and move out of the shoebox that I live in. You know, it's to be fair, I do not dislike my apartment. It's nice. It's in a reasonable location. It's really convenient for work. It's just very small. You know. And I'm paying rent on it, so rent is dead money. I'd much rather have a mortgage and buy and put that money to owning my own home. But well, that's precisely the point. You know, as long as your game's not utter crap, you know, if it's nearly finished, finish it, stick it on Steam, pay your 500, your 100, whatever it is you have to pay up front. Go on a mad advertising campaign around. There's always going to be, word of warning, there's always going to be some a-hole who uploads it to a pirate website. So, You know, probably 25% of the people that actually play your game will have not paid for it and will still complain as though they were the people who funded the entire frigging thing. But you know, even if you make back the money that you spent to get it on Steam, I'd call that a win. Yeah, I mean, how hard is it? You know. We've all been there, mate. I've done it. You know, you think, oh, I really need I need one of those, and then you think, oh, I've got to find one online, and then it never occurs to you to just make your own. Take a photo of it. Yeah, well, you've been smart and you've avoided the taboo side of things, and the minute you start touching on taboo subjects, and that was one of my biggest. Well, that was one of my biggest drawbacks, is that I had a story to tell. I still have a story to tell, and it's about I'm you know, I like the psychological side of things and exploring the Oedipus complex. That's what, and there's a transgender character in that game. You know, I'm wanting to explore the psyche, that sort of thing in there, but in spite of that, it's dangerous territory to go down. Very dangerous territory to go down, and there's worse. You think about the rules about certain taboos. We've already talked about this on previous live streams, like, for example, any kind of non-consensual intimacy is classed as rape, which means that all of those games where someone initiates sex with someone who's sleeping, being raped. How many games have you played that do that? How many games have you played where sneaking into the bathroom and spying on somebody having a shower? You know, all very sketchy topics in real life. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, if you have a male rival character in your game, you're just going to get ripped apart. Especially if you go on those kind of forums as well. Again, people who download the game for free and then bitch and whine at you as though they were responsible for funding the entire product, like they're your managing director. God damn. To be honest, I'm glad to be out of it. Pretty much, you know. Pretty much. Just got no time for that kind of crap anymore. Do things at my own pace. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if I were starting out now and I were to be getting into that, I would be very, very clear. Very, very clear that whilst I appreciate the financial support, being a supporter in no way gives you authority to impact the direction of any of the content. I mean, I'm really thrilled and really grateful for everybody who becomes a member of the channel or subscribes to my Patreon, but I'm very clear from the outset that that's not what becoming a patron or a member entitles you to. It's purely about supporting the channel, helping me buy more assets for Dash Studio, helping me keep up the, you know, IT equipment side of things, because things do break. But I am going to start trying to push out more Patreon and member content soon, because, well, I've already started recording a load of stuff, but it's just finding the time to do it whilst keeping the steady flow of traffic on the non-support side of the channel. Do. Even polls and stuff, though, I made the mistake of doing a couple of those when I was on Patreon, but it's my game, you know? I'm writing the game. I decide what happens in the story. Yeah, maybe I would let my patrons choose what kind of outfits or what colour the t-shirt is that my character's wearing this week. Excuse me, or something like that, but you can't create a game by committee. Even major development houses have a writer or a pool of writers. Once the storyline's written, it's set in stone. The people who do the rendering, the people who do the music, but at no point do the people who are buying the game say, I want this to happen. One development house springs to mind that did do that, and that was NCSoft, who were the creators of City Heroes, and they started bowing to what the customer demanded, and it freaking ruined the game, like destroyed it. Don't get me wrong, like, I love the game and I still play it now on a server, but the game was much better before. So they introduced, for those of you who don't know, City Heroes was one of the first MMOs. I think it even predates World of Warcraft, and it was a MMO about superheroes, and you could the amount of customization you could do was amazing. Bear in mind, this was one of the first ever MMOs. You could customize your character's appearance down to such a tiny detail. It really was amazing. And you had to, like all MMOs, you had a level cap, which in City Heroes was level 50, and you had to grind to get there. But the grinding didn't feel too bad. I think there was a gap between like level 35 and level 40 that was a bit too grindy. But the majority of the time, if you found like raids or task forces and things like that to do, it was just a genuine pleasure to play. But they introduced the ability to create your own missions, your own story arcs, and get XP for it. So people were just rolling their own farms. So literally there are scores of people out there who don't even play the game, they just go and farm. And some people find that fun, but it completely destroyed the atmosphere of the game. It just introduced a new element of player that just didn't kind of fit. Haven't tried that one. I nearly got sucked in with Pogo. I was playing it for ages and I was adamant that I wasn't going to spend any money, but then one of my friends, in fact several of my friends, were playing it, and they were going to like multiple raids every week because they were buying raid passes and stuff. And I started to feel the temptation to spend money. And then it became very apparent that it was just a pay-to-win game, because you physically couldn't keep up with the better players if you didn't spend insane amounts of money every week on raid passes and things like that. So I stopped playing. But I haven't tried that one. Yeah, that's the problem. Is it just, I've got enough things to spend money on already with going to the gym, and so I need to buy the supplements to gain. And I do still play a lot of games, although I've been pretty much playing Minecraft for the last few months exclusively. I've got plenty of things to spend money on. I don't need another thing to sink pounds into. Yeah. For such a simple game, and I know that they keep updating it, they're still updating it even now, which is genuinely admirable considering that everyone must own it by now. They can't be making any money from it at this point. Although I pay a sub for a realm because I have delusions that one day I'll have my own Hermitcraft type server, because I've got loads of mates me. I know like 3 people who play Minecraft that I trust. And that's the biggest thing for me, is the trust, is that you don't want to go and set up a Minecraft server, invite a load of random strangers to play with you, and then whilst you're offline one night come back and find that all of the hours you've sunk into it have been a waste because someone's come and trashed all your stuff. So yeah, the trust thing. Yeah, so it's just Don't get me wrong, like Pokemon Go was a brilliant game because it got me out and about, moving around more than I used to. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I bet there's one guy making that amount of money and then about 500 million people making about $5 because they think, oh, he's doing it, I can do it. Kind of the same, pretty much the same with all the Patreon business model stuff. Is you see someone, you know, you see an adult VN creator making $25,000 a month, or was probably double that by this point. That's the last time I looked at one certain person's account. And everybody else thinks that, oh, if he's doing it, I must be able to. It's like, nah, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. This person does live streaming every single day. Yeah, 80 grand a month. But then he earns it. He does rent. He does his live streams every night. He knows a lot of people that come on to his live streams and chats to him. I know I chat to, you know, I recognise a lot of people and I'm happy to chat to them, but the guys, the amount of time and energy that he puts in, he earns that money, and it's not just him on his own. I don't know how big his dev team is now. I think he's up to like 10 people. And 40% of that will go to tax. So, you know, he's able to sustain a small dev team legally if he's paying tax on that money. But it's not the amount of income that each individual member of that team will make is not going to mean that they're living the life of luxury. You know, that's a standard income for an average game dev is sort of $3,000 a month. When you convert that to pounds, that's, you know, probably what I earn in my IRL job when you boil it down that way. I'd love to be able to make money, make a living from game development, but I'm at that stage in my life now where I realise that it may happen, but it's going to be a freak occurrence if it does. You've just got to be in the right place at the right time. Yeah, you know. And I would quite happily start up a dev team, but you've got to have people who share your belief in the content, and you can't have it can't be an Irish Parliament. There has to be one person in charge, dishing out the work to everybody else. One person can only keep up that pace for a short period of time. I'd be quite happy just surviving, getting on, you know, I'm a teacher in real life now as a job, so, you know, doing that for a living and just doing the game development and the YouTube channel in my free time. How I get by now, and I'm quite happy. Got a good base of followers and subscribers who like to come and have a chat every Sunday. I'm quite happy with that, you know. One or two people that are quite demanding. Nobody here, just to be clear. You know, you get one or two people who just... I want my channel to be a positive place for people to come and learn, and you do get the odd one or two people who just come in and they just say something like genuinely, you're like, really? Why would you comment like that? It's not even comments aimed at me, quite often it's comments aimed at other people. Yeah, you know, just happy to get by. Happy to get by. Okay. Yeah, I enjoy these streams. It's nice to have a chat with people, you know. It's nice to hear other people's opinions. I'm by no means an authority on anything. Everything I say is just my own opinion based on the limited information that's available to me. You know, I live in my little bubble. I do my work, come home, record a YouTube video, watch something on Amazon Prime. I have my set number of YouTube channels that I watch. I watch You Always Win for gaming. I watch Ting Ting for ASMR. Oh well, no, I appreciate that. I'm glad you found some of the content useful, man. It's nice to know that I'm helping people. It's kind of the point. Do 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 do. I think that's the thing in it. I mean, 4 years ago, what was it? 3 years ago when I started this channel properly. The channel's been around longer than that, but that was just because I was making like mods for Skyrim and things like that. I've deleted most of those videos now. But when I started doing Dash Studio content on this channel properly, literally my raison d'etre was just trying to produce some kind of documentation that people could use, because the Dash Studio documentation back then was absolutely appalling. You know, you'd click on a link and 9 times out of 10 you wouldn't even be able to, it would go to like a dead link. Hey Bradford, how you doing, bro? Good morning from Atlanta. Well, good morning. Well, it's good afternoon now. Good afternoon from the UK. But even now you go on the Dash Studio channel and it's still not great. Yeah, you have no idea how much money I had to invest in, like, if you can see I've got acoustic panels all around the place. No, you're all very kind. Very much appreciate all of your kind words. Yeah, the mic, I realised probably, well, you can tell when I realised, because the sound quality improved dramatically. When I realised that the audio quality was kind of important. I know there's a little bit of an echo on the setup I've got at the moment, but there's not much I can do about it. I've got acoustic panels all around the place, unless I literally go wall to wall, which I really can't afford because acoustic panels are not cheap. But yeah, I just want to help you guys, help everybody, you know. RemPie is a really, like, fair play to Python. The guy, he might earn money from creating it now, but starting your own game engine is, there's no mean feat, let's put it that way. Like, the guy has created basically his own programming language. It might be based on Python, but, you know, that's no mean feat, so he's done really well. And he's still constantly improving, he's updating it to the newest version of Python and all that sort of thing. Credit where it's due, the guy's a legend. And I want more people to use it, because Python itself is a really good language to use, and RemPie makes it accessible, because you can use as much Python in it as you want. You can just stay purely RemPie. You could type an entire game in RemPie without ever writing a line of Python if you wanted to. I have got like aspirations one day of creating something similar to RemPie, but maybe basing it on another programming language, maybe something like C# that has more .NET functionality in it, so you could realistically write a web-based like visual novel. I know there's other bits of software and things like that can do it, but that's something that I've thought about doing further down the line. Got to brush up on my C# skills though. It's been a while since I've used it properly. I know I did the C# series on here a few months back. But that's the thing, if you don't use a language, it's like foreign language. If I don't speak French or Japanese for very long, I forget how to do it. Like, I can't remember hardly any Japanese at this point. No, it doesn't, and the problem is it's very easily rippable as well. There's no way, I mean, there are things you can do to add copy protection to your RunPie games, but the amount of effort involved in it, it's just not worth it. I like to sort of think that there are still human beings out there who aren't just pirating, they're not just downloading free, you know, they're not going to the pirate sites to download their Dash Studio content and stealing people's RunPie games. I like to think there are some, you know, there are still people out there who will pay for content, although few and far between though those people may now be. Problem is with the streaming kind of generation, you know, there's people are used to going onto Netflix, paying one monthly fee and having access to all of the contents. I did when I was doing that business model. I've removed it since, obviously, because I don't associate my games with my Patreon. Not that that's any way making me bulletproof, because you look at the likes of Carl Benjamin's prime example, Sargon of Akkad. Now we're going back to a big hoo-ha. Complete bellend that he is. What happened to him was unfair, because he got banned from Patreon for something that had absolutely nothing to do with Patreon. You know, he said a word on someone's podcast that was nothing to do with Patreon, and they banned him for it. That would be called... Well, I don't want to go down a debate on that thing, because that's just a whole mess. Well, they do, but they also do it very selectively. They only enforce the rules against people that they can afford to lose, you know. Going back to the developer we mentioned earlier who earns 80 grand a month, you notice he's still going, and yet, you know, it's widely known that his game still breaches their terms and conditions. You know, I was a small developer, I was only making like $300 a month, I think was the highest, no, $250 was the highest I ever got to on Patreon, so they could afford to lose me. So I didn't even get the opportunity to fix my content. I was just told categorically, get it off Patreon or you will be banned. To which my response was, well, can't I just clean up the bits that you don't like the other developers? And they were like, no, get it off or you're banned. So I got it off and then still got banned. You know, it is what it is. It's my own fault. I should have known better. Now I know better. Things are going to change soon anyway. Things are going to circle back round. You know, you look at... This isn't even a conservative versus liberal kind of issue anymore. It's just the way that things have gone. It's just gone... Thanks, Christian. Thank you very much for your sub, my friend. You know, the way things have gone now is absolutely mental. Literally, the liberals are attacking themselves at this point. I mean, you look at Ellen DeGeneres. I think I've mentioned. I feel like we have this conversation every week. You know, she was the poster girl for the woke mafia, and now they're attacking her because it turns out she's not a very nice person IRL. It seems to be somewhat lost on people that most of the people who are really, really, really successful are genuinely not very nice people, because part of being successful in a capitalist environment is that you have to be quite ruthless. So it's kind of like stating the obvious. Plus you look at the whole business with the vaccine thing at the moment. There's just So the weird thing is, in America, it seems to be fairly right-wing people who are refusing to have the vaccine because of... I honestly won't pretend to know what their motivation is, but it seems to be fairly right-wing people refusing to get it. In the UK, it's the far left people, the people at the left end of the spectrum, that are refusing to get it because they claim that it breaches their human rights or something. I can't even understand the logic of that argument. It seems idiotic to me that it's people who quite happily take all kinds of recreational drugs without knowing what's in them. You know, their chemist is some guy who doesn't wash very often, who lives in a hovel around the corner, but a drug that's been approved by the government will, you know, they don't want to put that in their system because they don't know what it is. It's just like, wow. You know, it just makes no sense to me whatsoever. I got the jabs. I'm double jabbed. I booked them. I got the first text message from the NHS saying you're eligible for your jab. I booked it for the following day. Got in there as quickly as I possibly could, and the same with the second jab. There was no hesitation. It was the first available appointment. I was in there getting it done. It's not because I was terrified of the virus or anything. It's just one of those things. I just wanted to get it done, get it out of the way. If everybody had and would just get on with it and get it done, then, you know, countries would be in a much better state than they are at the moment. But that's the point, isn't it? It's just the only way we can move on is when we have an acceptable fatality rate, an acceptable mortality rate, which at the moment, because there are still so many people who haven't been vaccinated, it is a dangerous virus. It will kill you if you're unlucky, you know. If you've got the slightest, like, health concern, it can really, really wipe you out. I mean, just get vaccinated. It won't kill you. Anyway, don't want to go too madly down an anti-vax commentary, because I'm aware that there may or may not be people of that persuasion in amongst my audience. Certainly no intention of offending anybody or anything like that, but certainly in my humble opinion, the sooner everybody gets vaccinated, the quicker we can get on and move on with life. Which seems like a really convenient place to end this live stream. I apologise to the people who joined right at the end and all they heard was me talking about the COVID vaccine, but we are now at the 2-hour mark, so I'm genuinely grateful that so many people tuned in today. It's awesome. I look forward to seeing it. I'm going to try and do more live streams every week. One a week is kind of where I'm at the moment, just because I'm still kind of trying to settle in and everything, but great chatting to all of you. Thanks ever so much for coming, and I will see you next week. But take care of yourselves until then, guys.